8.4. Everybody should have 8.4 notes. Sorry, I'm so cold. We're going to talk about calculating the binomial coefficient and expanding binomials. What does expand mean? Make bigger, pull apart. What's a binomial? Two terms, good. You're expanding binomials using Pascal's triangle. It's a pattern. Different teachers teach it different ways. If you don't like the way that I do it, feel free to Google it. Look at YouTube, watch Miss Carver. I think Miss Carver and I do it the same way. Watch Miss Perez's video. But you guys are going to have to show your work. You're going to have to use Pascal's to expand. You'll see what I mean. And you have to use a formula for calculating the binomial coefficient. Everything we do in math is a pattern, guys. You notice right here, they're talking about expanding. When you expand, you're raising something to a power. You see, this is 0 power, first power. This goes up to the 6th power. There's a pattern. If you notice going through here, when I add up, I have x and y. When I add up all of the exponents, they all equal 6, because you're raising it to what power? The 6th power. All right, all of the coefficients, there's a pattern. If you're raising something to the 5th power, then the coefficients are 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, 1. If you're raising something to the 6th power, the coefficients are 1, 6, 15, 20, 15, 6, 1. Goes like this, like a triangle. Always. I'm going to give you the triangle. I'm going to show you the pattern. You guys have to memorize it. But after you do it, I mean, we're spending 2.5 days doing it. By the time we're done, honestly, probably, Mateo, by the time I'm done today, you'll know it. Like, it's just a pattern of numbers. It's not anything random. It's very easy to see. But in order to calculate the binomial theorem, you're calculating, like if you have something expanded and you're raising it to a power, you're calculating what the coefficient product would be if you put it together. There's a formula for it. There's the formula. We know what the exclamation point means, right? Factorial. If something is factorial, you multiply that number with everything behind it. This part I'm going to go through kind of quickly because it's really simple. But the problem can be written two ways. It can be written this way, or it can be written one on top of the other. If you notice, the n comes first, the r is second. Everybody see that? We good? Okay, so if you're given a problem, do I have any on this page? If you're given a problem right here, I'll do these 4, and then if I have time at the end, I'll do the last ones on the video. But the way that you would be expected to show you work for like A on your web assignment and on your quiz, you have 8 and you're choosing 2. This is a combination. This is going to take us into 8.5 and 8.6. We talked about combinations and permutations, about probability. But what I would need to see is 8 factorial, because this is my n and this is my r, correct? And then on the bottom, I have 8 minus 2 factorial times 2 factorial. I need to see that you guys understand what that is. Now, when we evaluate this, when we simplify, I have 8 factorial over 6 factorial, 2 factorial. 6 factorial times 2 factorial, does it equal 12? No. Make sure you guys don't make that mistake. Some of you did on your test. So 8 times 7 times, I can stop right there. On the bottom, I have 6, and then times 2. Do I need the 1? No. Can you write it? Yes, but you don't need to. What can we cancel out here? The 6 factorials. Good. Now, from this point, guys, if you just want to multiply in your calculator on top, then divide by the bottom, that's fine. Or sometimes, Gabe, you ran into this on your test. The numbers were too big on top, right? But when you canceled out top and bottom, then it became manageable. So I would get in the habit of saying 2 goes into 8 4 times, right? So what is the binomial coefficient of letter A? 28. So you equal 28. Very simple, guys. Very straightforward. So we look at B. B's written a little differently, but it means the same thing. Your n is the 10. Your 3 is the r. First number is n, second number is r. So you would say, okay, 10 factorial over 10 minus 3 factorial times 3 factorial. If you wanted to, at this step, say 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 factorial. And then I have 7 on the bottom and 3 times 2. Does everybody understand where I got those numbers from? 10 minus 3 is 7. So look, my 7s will cancel, my 7 factorials. 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 9 3 times. 2 goes into 2 once. 2 goes into 8 4 times. So we're left with 10 times 3 times 4, which is 120. Good. Y'all will have your calculators. Not going to give you the formula or the triangle, but you'll have your calculator. C and D, I just want you guys to see. These are special little cases. So if you look at C, C would be 7 factorial over 7 minus 0 factorial over 0 factorial, right? Well, what's 7 minus 0?
7.
So this is the same as 7 factorial, correct?
So just be
What happens with 7 on top, 7 on the bottom? It cancels. This becomes a 1. And what does 0 factorial equal? 1. 0 factorial equals 1. So your answer here is just 1. Remember, 0 factorial and 1 factorial equal 1. Same thing kind of happens here. This is my n, this is my r. So I have 8 factorial over 8 minus 8, right? Okay. So I have n minus r over r. What do you guys notice? 8 factorial on the top and the 8 factorial on the bottom do what? Cancel out, so you're left with a 1. What is 8 minus 8? So this would be 0 factorial. And what is 0 factorial? 1, so your answer here is 1. In both cases, your answer is 1. Just make sure you show me. Don't just be like, oh, that's 1. Great that you know that, but make sure you put it into the formula so I can see what you guys are doing. That make sense? Mm-hmm. We all right? All right, the next ones, I will do these at the end. I'll put it on the end of the video so you guys can see some extra practice. But I want to make sure I get to all of the problems that I want to for the rest of Pascal and his triangle. All right, Pascal's triangle. Did I put this on your all's, like the 0 row, first row? Did I write that in blue on yours? Okay, go ahead and do that. If I were you, I would write like I did, 0 row, first row, second row, third. That's the exponent. Where I wrote these rows, that's the exponent that your binomial is being raised to. This is what you have to memorize. And some of you are like, what? That's so much. It's really not, guys. If you raise something to the second power, you need to remember 1, 2, 1. To the third power, it's 1, 3, 3, 1. Fourth power, 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. You guys will start to see the pattern and it'll become fairly simple. That is the only thing in order to expand. There's 3 out of the 5 questions on your quiz are like this. That's really the only thing you have to really memorize. The rest is all basic math computation in your calculator. But again, different teachers teach this differently. This is how I do it. I think it's the easiest way. I think it's the shortest way. But again, you guys are going to have your own decisions on things. If you have a question like this, it's going to say, write the expansion. What this means is take x plus 1 and multiply it by itself 3 times. Everybody in here can do that. You guys would just FOIL it, combine like terms. On your quiz, you have to use Pascal's triangle. You have to show that you're using Pascal's triangle, not just foiling. If you have something raised to the 7th power, you don't want to write 7 different parentheses and then FOIL and combine like terms. You guys will get lost. So here's the way we're going to do it. Listen to me, follow. Those of you who try to conserve paper, don't. George, there's 5 questions. I'll give you 5 sheets of paper. I'll grade all your books. It's fine. But the first thing we do, okay, follow along. I'm going to do 4 examples with you. We're going to do the same thing every time. The first thing we do is identify the row of Pascal's triangle that we're talking about. So what row? 3rd row, right? So what are the numbers I'm writing? 1, 3, 3, 1. Perfect. Now we're going to deal with the terms. There's 2 terms in my binomial. What are the 2 terms? X and 1. They're both positive. So I'm going to write my first term, x, 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 x. Now I'm going to write my second term. Happens to be 1. Since it's positive, I'm just going to write 1 like this. And now we have to do our exponents. we're going to write our exponents in descending order, then ascending order. Descending means you start at the highest and go to the lowest. So I'm going to start. I start on the third row, so I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, 0. What's anything to the 0 power? 1. Cross it off and put a 1. The next row, I'm going to go in ascending order. So I'm going to start with 0, 1, 2, 3. You should always start with the row that you started or that you're raising to and end with the row that you're raising to. Now, this is how you compute this, guys. You multiply the numbers together and stick the letters on the back. Obviously, this is a very basic, easy one. We'll get to some more advanced ones, but what's 1 times 1? And then put x cubed, so it's 1x cubed. Agreed? Mm-hmm. Okay, so 3 times 1 to the first power. So plus 3, and what gets stuck? X squared. All right, what's 1 squared? Times 3. So plus 3x. And then what's 1 times 1 times 1 to the third power? And there's your expansion. If you wrote out all 3 and FOILed them, combined like terms, that's what you would get. We're going to do a bunch of these over the next few days. You guys, hopefully this will be a good quiz for everybody. Questions? Just this one lesson, yeah. Because then we get into probability and stuff like that, and it just kind of disjointed. Kind of like the partial fraction was kind of just stuck in there. So, all right, look at this example. How is this one different from what we just did? There's a negative. All right, guys, you got to pay attention with negatives because it changes the signs when you multiply. But again, first thing we're going to do is identify the row. What's the row? 3. What's the numbers for 3? 1, 3, 3, 1. Anytime I have a negative or if I have something with a coefficient, I put numbers in parentheses. You'll see why. What's my first term? So I write it out. What's my second term? So put it in parentheses because you're going to have to square and raise to different powers, so you don't want to mess up your signs. Let's do our exponents. What row did we raise to? The third. So I'm going to start with 3, 2, 1, 0. Cross it out, put a 1. On the bottom, I'm going to start with 0. 1, 2, 3. Cross this out and put a 1. When I get to anything that's a little more involved than just positive 1, I like to do as much simplifying inside the problem as possible. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to evaluate all these exponents. What is negative 1 to the first power? Negative 1, okay. What's negative 1 to the second power? Positive 1. What's negative 1 to the third power? Negative 1. Get all of the thinking out of the way, guys. Anything you can do to reduce the amount of thinking or mistakes that you could possibly make, I would try to get done. All that little simplifying in between, you'll see is the next couple that we do, it's easier. So now you multiply the numbers. What's 1 times 1? 1. And then I have 1x cubed, right? What's 3 times negative 1? Negative 3, and my x squared goes there. What's 3 times 1? Positive 3, and the x goes in the end. And what's 1 times negative 1? Negative 1. There you go. When you have a negative, if you notice, your signs will alternate to plus minus. I'm going to do these separately so we have plenty of room. So I have 2x minus 3 to the fourth power. Okay, a couple things you need to pay attention to here, guys. First of all, what row are we raising to? All right, so what are the numbers for the fourth row? 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. All right, agreed. So what do we do for this next row? Not just, what is it? It's 2x, okay? This is where I caution you to just take your time. You're going to write that first term. I'm writing it in a parenthesis for a couple of reasons. Okay, then what's the next term? What's the second term? Negative 3. So I'm going to write my negative 3. I'm I'm giving myself a little room in between so I can make sure I can do all of my simplifying and stuff. I can get rid of a bunch of things before I actually do the work. If you do your exponents, guys, you're going to start with what row? 4. So 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Cross that out and put a 1. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Cross that out and put a 1. Everybody agree with me so far? Now at this point, this is where I would tell you, get your calculators out and do as much little bit of calculating as you can throughout. Because guys, don't forget, this 4, I have 2x raised to the 4th power. This 4 goes to the 2 and to the x, correct? It's not 2x to the 4th. What is it?
What?
That 4 goes to the 2 and to the x. 2 to the 4th power, which is 16x to the 4th. Get all of this simplifying out of the way so you don't make silly mistakes. This 3 goes to the 2 and to the x. So this really is what? 8x cubed. 2 goes here and here, so this is really 4x squared, right? And then 1 goes here and here, so this is really 2x. Everybody with? Okay. So now I'm going to take my first power. I have 1, right? So what's negative 3 to the first power? Negative 3. I move this here. What's negative 3 to the second power? 9. I have negative 3 to the third power. Negative 27. I have negative 3 to the fourth power. Positive 81. Lots of your calculators help you out do lots of things, but if you don't show me the work, right? If you're not showing me these steps of using Pascal's and all that stuff, you guys are not going to get credit for it. So now that we have all of that little simplifying done, right? This is gone, this is gone. All of the hard part, the thinking is out of the way. You just say 1 times 16 times 1 is what? 16 x to the 4th. What's 4 times 8 times negative 3? 4 times 8 times negative 3? Negative 96. X cubed. All right. What's 6 times 4 times 9? Plus 216, x squared. What's 4 times 2 times negative 27? Negative 216x. And then what's 1 times 81? Plus 81. So in order for you to get credit, this green part, maybe this is worth 20 points. The green part is like 5 of those points. I need to see all of this. This is you showing me that you're using Pascal's triangle, that you know how to set it up, that sort of a thing. All right, I got to talk to Miss Carver and Miss Perez. We may let you only use like a 4-function calculator or something like that. So you guys need to make sure you understand how to use calculators. 4-function means just adding and subtracting, multiply, divide. Everybody with me? We're good? All right. Next example is x minus 2y to the 5th. So think about this. I have x minus 2y to the 5th power. So the first thing we do is identify what row. So what is the 5th row? 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, 1. Correct? Okay. So now I write down what first? X. X, 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 X. Now what do I write down? Negative 2y, okay? How do I do my exponents? Okay. Descending, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And then ascending, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This becomes a 1. Now again, get the little stuff out of the way. Go ahead and distribute your exponents here. So I have, this is negative 2y. This is positive 4y. This is negative 8y cubed, right? This is positive 16y to the 4th. And this is negative 32y to the 5th. Questions about that? Distribute your exponent to the coefficient and to the letter.
Why is there not a 2 over the 4y?
Why is there what?
Like it's negative 2y and then 4y.
Oh, because I forgot it. I said it, but I didn't write it. Mm-hmm. So now, numbers. What's 1 times 1 times 1? 1, so I have x to the 5th, right? What's 5 times negative 2? Negative 10. And then what are your letters? X to the 4th, y, right? Okay. So what's 10 times 4? Plus 40, right? X cubed, y squared. You guys with me? Okay, so 10 and negative 8 is negative 80. X squared y to the 3rd. 5 and 16 is plus 80. X y to the 4th. And then I have minus 32y to the 5th. Look at your exponents. When you have two variables, what are your exponents going to equal? Whatever row you raise it to. So 4 and 1 is 5, 3 and 2 is 5, 2 and 3 is 5, 4 and 1 is 5, and then 5. Yes, ma'am?
Does it matter if you put your x or your y first?
No. Generally, x's would go first, just because that's how it's always written on the alphabet, but I mean, I wouldn't mark off if you did. Questions? Let's do another one. Let's practice one. Let's do 3x minus 7 to the 7th. Yeah, this is a big one, right? You could write out 3x minus 7 times, and then FOIL, right? But let's go through the motions. What is the 7th row? What are the numbers? 1, 7, 21, 35, 35, 21, 7, and 1. Okay, it's a long one. Now I write down my first term, right, which happens to be 3x. I'm going to do it all in parentheses. 3x, 3x. What's my second term? Negative 7. Good. My class is always having way more fun than we are. I don't know. No, I don't think so. I think it's above us.
Above us?
Yeah. It comes through that air vent. All right, how do I do my exponents? Descending. So we start 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Cross that out and put a 1. Right? Now we're going to go the other way. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Cross this one out and put a 1. Everybody with me? Now, this point, I think it's a really good idea to go ahead and distribute your exponents and complete all these little tiny mini problems in here. This is 3 to the 7th power and then x to the 7th. What's 3 to the 7th power? $21.87. Yes. All right, 2187, and we have x to the 7th, correct? Okay, that one's done. So then 3 to the 6th power. What's 3 to the 6th? 729. x to the 6th. What's 3 to the 5th? 243. Okay, thank you. 3 to the 4th? 81. 3 to the 3rd? 27. 3 squared. And then 3x. Right? Everybody with? And then let's simplify our negative 7 to the first power is just negative 7. Negative 7 squared is 49. What's negative 7 to the third power? 343. So negative 343. 7 to the fourth, 2401. 7 to the fifth, negative 16807. Right? 7 to the sixth, 117,649. Guys, I'm asking you to push buttons in your calculator. Like, seriously?
Bro, please tell me we're not gonna have one like this on Twitter.
7 to the 7th. I don't know. I just made this up right now. So negative 823. 543, right? Just pushing buttons in your calculator. That's it. Everybody with? All right, so multiply numbers. We're almost done. What's 1 times 2,187 times 1? 2,187 x to the 7th. Okay? So then I have 7 times 729 times negative 7. So 7 times 729 times negative 7. Negative 35721 minus 35721 x to the 6th, right? So then 21 times 243 times 49. 250,047. So plus 250,047 x to the what? 5th, right? Okay, that one's done. So 35 now times 81 times negative 343. Negative 27,748. So negative 27,748 x to the 4th. We went to the top, now we're coming back down. So now 35, 27, and 2401. 35 times 27 times 3401. What did we get? 35 times 27 times 2401. 2268945. 2268945, right? X to the third. Okay, that one's done.
Wait, hold on. 8.
All right, so now we have 21 times 9, right? 21 times 9 times negative 16,807. Should be a nice tiny little number. There we go. So I have minus 3,176,523 x squared. Again, guys, you're using your calculators.
So you're enjoying this?
Huh?
Like,
Yeah, this is so much fun. I'm not enjoying it, but whatever. It's not that hard. Like, 117649. Oh no, I totally would have run out of room on my paper. So plus 2470629. Yep. All right. And then the last one is what? The bottom number. Say it. Negative 823,543. Good job. Negative 800. What was it? 23,543. And there, ladies and gentlemen, there's your expansion right there. George, you're going to need like 12 sheets of paper for one problem. You're writing in a circle. It'll be awesome. All right, so for letter A, we would take my n is 7, my r is 3. So I have 7 factorial over 7 minus 3 factorial times 3 factorial. And as we simplify, 7 factorial over 4 factorial times 3 factorial, this would be 7 times 6 times 5 times, I could stop at 4 factorial over 4 factorial, 3 times 2. So my 4 factorials will cancel out. 3 goes into 6 2 times. 2 goes into 2 once. So I have 7 times 5. And my answer would be 35. Okay, so if we have letter B, again, my n value is 7, r is 4. So we have 7 factorial over 7 minus 4 factorial times 4 factorial. So it's 7 factorial over 3 factorial times 4 factorial. Here I see that 4 factorial is going to be bigger than 3, so I'm going to say 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 factorial over 3 times 2 times 4 factorial. 3 goes into 6 2 times, 2 goes into 2 1 time, so I have 7 times 5, and that gives me 35. For C, again, same thing. My n is 12 and my r is 1, so I have 12 factorial over 12 minus 1 factorial times 1 factorial. So we have 12 factorial over 11 factorial 1 factorial. I have 12 times 11 factorial. I can stop right there because I have an 11 factorial on the bottom. And then 1 factorial is just 1, so these cross out, and my answer is just 12. And then over here for D, my n value is 12 and my r value is 11. So I have 12 factorial over 12 minus 11 factorial times 11 factorial. So we have 12 factorial over 1 factorial times 11 factorial. This gives me 12 times 11 factorial over 1 times 11 factorial. My 11s cancel out, and look here, we have, again, the answer, 12.